Ordinary life made sense in neat blocks of time. I ran payroll for a small clinic, packed our daughter's lunch with carrot sticks and a sticker, and kept a whiteboard calendar bright with field trips and oil changes. My husband traveled for regional sales, home on Thursdays with samples and stories about highways that never ended. Sundays meant pancakes and errands, and we treated routine like insurance against chaos. Neighborhood barbecues, shared holiday photos, and the normal soundtrack of laundry and streaming noise convinced me we were steady. When friends asked how we made it work, I said division of labor and trust. Our daughter practiced spelling on the fridge with magnetic letters, and the dog curled under the kitchen table like a paperweight. I believed love lived inside ordinary tasks done reliably. Nothing in that season suggested a second set of calendars ticking somewhere else. Small disturbances arrived disguised as promotions. The travel schedule thickened with Monday departures and Wednesday red-eye returns. He began guarding his phone like a fragile artifact, face down at dinner, pockets zipped during bedtime routines. Receipts appeared from a discount chain across town where we never shopped, large purchases hidden in bland line items. I found new shirts with the pins still caught in seams, tags removed, plastic collar stays tucked carefully into a sock drawer. He praised a mentor I had never heard of and adopted sayings that sounded borrowed. Our daughter mentioned a different kind of cereal he liked that I had never bought. He missed a cousin's birthday and mailed a card late with a simple signature that avoided any details. Nothing was loud enough to demand a scene, yet the house felt slightly out of level, as if a marble set loose would roll someplace new. Suspicion grew from the behavior of small objects. A second toothbrush appeared in his travel kit, despite his insistence that hotels provided extras. A postcard from a coastal town arrived addressed only to him, handwriting round and precise, mentioning soccer cleats and a wobbly tooth without using names. A child's drawing of a blue house fell from his laptop sleeve, signed with initials our daughter did not share. He dismissed each item with breezy references to co-workers and office raffles, but a quiet meter inside me started counting. I noticed how he smelled faintly of a laundry detergent we never used and how his ringtone changed to a chirp I could not place. Even the dog waited near the door at odd times, hopeful with no one arriving. I told myself people change habits under pressure and that fatigue makes patterns look like plots, yet the meter kept ticking. Tangible clues arrived bundled with numbers that refused to lie. The shared account showed consistent charges at a suburban grocery 30 miles away. Always on weekends he claimed to fish with colleagues. There were cash withdrawals near a playground 2 towns over, spaced like ritual, and a recurring payment described with a generic billing name that dissolved into nothing when searched. Mileage on the car leapt beyond the commute, and I found crumbs of birthday cake pressed into the floor mat on a weekday night. His calendar blocked time with neutral words, prep, errands, planning, that overlapped neatly with those transactions. Photos in the cloud included a blurry image of a soccer field that wasn't our school's, framed by a fence with red caps we did not have. I stopped arguing with myself. I opened a new notebook, labeled it Truth, and began writing dates in permanent ink. Verification required steady hands and a slow heart. I forwarded bank statements to a private email and built a spreadsheet with dates, addresses, and purchase categories, then mapped them against school calendars for districts near those charges. An open PTA newsletter matched the timing of cupcake receipts and Spirit Day shirts. I drove to the suburban grocery on a Saturday, walked aisles with an empty basket, and studied bulletin boards crowded with piano lessons and lost cat flyers. A flyer thanked volunteer coach Daniel, his first name alone, for setting up cones for the Rockets. In the parking lot, a key fob identical to ours chirped 2 rows over, and my stomach answered like an alarm. I did not take pictures. I memorized the details: mascot colors, snack schedules, a line of minivans decorated with magnet letters, and went home to keep building the map I already believed. Confirmation arrived without spectacle, just a door swinging inward on oiled hinges. A property search for the benefits card's address listed his name paired with a woman I did not know on a short lease. The local school's public page included a sponsor's photo thanking volunteer parents. His profile stood blurred but distinct in the jacket I had given him last winter. On a Sunday, I followed the mileage to a park and watched from the far path as he lifted a little boy onto a swing and adjusted a girl's ponytail with practiced tenderness. The woman beside them laughed with her whole body, comfortable as if weekends always belonged to this arrangement. I felt the world tilt and then settle. Shock did not explode. It clarified. Two families had been asked to hold the same man. I decided only one of us would continue. Immediate fallout sounded like quiet decisions made in daylight. I made grilled cheese for our daughter, checked homework, and set out pajamas, building her evening with steady edges. After bedtime, I arranged the spreadsheet, property printouts, and a practical list on the kitchen table. I would not perform rage. I would safeguard the child and the mortgage, and place a halt on all explanations not directly tied to logistics. When he came home, I described what I knew using dates and addresses, then told him he would move to the guest room while we formalized a separation. He cycled through surprise, bargaining, and a practiced calm that looked rehearsed in another house. I declined to carry it. I set a timeline for finances and contact, called my sister for the first sleepover, and watched the floor stop heaving beneath my feet. The next morning began with coffee and the attorney's number. Cutting ties required a scalpel, not an axe. I blocked the other woman after saving records, archived photos I no longer needed to curate, and moved his clothes into boxes labeled by season. I changed the front door code and the phone plan password, then packed a bag with our daughter's comfort items for the first nights he would not sleep here. Friends were informed with sentences that protected privacy and answered only necessary questions. Our family is reorganizing. Our daughter's routine remains steady. I returned a borrowed drill to the neighbor and kept my voice neutral. I declined invitations that included couples and chose early bedtimes over postmortems. Boundaries did not heal anything that week. They simply stopped the harm from traveling farther, the way a tourniquet buys time while the body remembers how to clot. The house felt smaller and safer, like a map with unmarked regions finally crossed out. Legal and practical logistics reassembled my days into binders. I met an attorney who translated shock into filings, separation, temporary support, discovery, and a parenting plan with dependable handoffs. HR forms shifted beneficiaries, and the bank account split along verifiable household needs with receipts tracked in a shared spreadsheet viewed by counsel. I documented every expense like a custodian of evidence, not to punish but to build a clear path through fog. The mortgage servicer confirmed assumptions in writing, utilities were duplicated into separate logins, and the car insurance policy added a boundary where none had existed. I scheduled therapy for myself and requested a school counselor check-in for our daughter. I opened a P.O. box for statements and spare keys. Stability arrived as calendar invites, case numbers, and passwords that belonged only to me. Each document signed felt like closing a drawer that had been hanging open for months, risky in its looseness. Kids and family dynamics required careful honesty. We told our daughter that adults sometimes keep promises badly and that two homes would be safer for everyone, avoiding names or timelines she could not carry. Her questions focused on dinner schedules, stuffed animals, and who would attend school concerts. I kept the answers boring on purpose. Sleepovers with cousins helped, sticker calendars gave structure, the dog rotated beds like a diplomat. Teachers were briefed to watch for distraction, and I explained we were keeping mornings calm even when paperwork strained the afternoons. On my days, I doubled down on rituals: pancakes for dinner on Fridays, library runs on Tuesdays, and a 10-minute walk after homework to reset the air. She slept through most nights again, and laughter returned in flashes, bright and ordinary. Co-parenting emails kept tones clipped and factual, proof that civility can still protect a child. Rebuilding arrived disguised as errands. I replaced the porch light he always meant to fix, learned the ladder's balance, and painted the hallway a warmer white. I took a Saturday class in personal finance and found the calm of reconciled columns. I moved my body for steadiness rather than punishment, circling the lake at sunrise until the path felt like a promise I kept to myself. Friends who stayed brought soup instead of strategies, and I practiced asking for specific help rather than vague comfort. I reclaimed spaces with small choices: new towels, a fern by the sink, a lamp that warmed corners evening could not. I opened a savings account named Future Repairs and transferred modest amounts with private pride. The folder of evidence remained in a drawer, untouched, because the point had shifted from proving harm to practicing care. Identity followed behavior, quiet and durable. Reflection settled once adrenaline thinned. I stopped bargaining with a past written in parallel columns and began composing a single ledger with my name at the top. The betrayal no longer demanded fresh outrage. It required maintenance of boundaries and daily acts that kept our daughter's world uncomplicated. I understood that his double life recruited me as an unwitting alibi, and I refused the assignment. Forgiveness, where it sprouts, is not a gate he walks through. It is a clearance within me that refuses to store poison. I will be polite at recitals and precise in emails. I will be the parent who answers, the homeowner who learns, the person who trusts her instruments. On quiet mornings the house still hums with familiar sounds, and I let them be neither omen nor nostalgia, only evidence of living. Forward looks ordinary and therefore precious, measured in clear calendars and a door that locks behind me.